The friendships that stay surface level for months aren't usually stuck because you haven't been vulnerable enough. They're stuck because something has to happen before vulnerability works, and almost no one tells you what that is. If you have a friendship that feels warm on the surface, where both people show up, both people enjoy it, but something invisible keeps it from going any deeper, this video is about what's actually happening there. And more specifically, it's about 5 moves that create depth naturally, in the right sequence without forcing anything. By the end of this, you'll have a clearer understanding of why this friendship is stuck, what to actually do about it, and maybe most importantly, whether this particular friendship has real depth potential or whether it has quietly hit its structural ceiling. Here's the concept worth starting with. Most adult friendships don't fail, they plateau. There's a point, and almost everyone who's experienced this will recognize it immediately, where a friendship stops developing and just stays. It stays warm, it stays pleasant. Both people keep showing up, but the conversations circle the same topics, the same register, the same depth. Anyone who's been in this knows exactly what I mean. You leave the coffee, or the dinner, or the group chat, and something in you notices, I still don't really know this person, and they still don't really know me. That's not a failing friendship. That's a friendship at its ceiling. And here's the part that doesn't get talked about. Most adult friendships hit a ceiling, not because the people involved don't want more, but because there's a specific threshold that has to be crossed for depth to become possible. And most people don't know the threshold exists, so they can't see why they keep bumping up against it. Research on how adult closeness actually forms consistently points to something counterintuitive. Depth isn't created by a single vulnerable moment. It's created by a sequence of smaller moments that have to happen in a particular order. Skip the sequence, or try to rush it, and the friendship doesn't deepen, it gets slightly awkward. And then both people quietly pull back to the level where things felt safe. That's the ceiling. And that's what you're going to understand by the end of this video. Let's be honest about what's actually happening when someone tries to deepen a stuck friendship, and it doesn't work. The most common move is some version of going deeper faster, sharing something more personal, asking a more meaningful question, being more emotionally present than usual. And sometimes it works, but often, especially in a friendship that's been stuck for months, it produces a specific kind of friction. The other person gets slightly quieter. The conversation finds its way back to safe ground, and now there's a faint awkwardness that wasn't there before. Here's why. Vulnerability doesn't create closeness on its own. Vulnerability creates closeness when it lands inside a container that's already been built to hold it. What that container is made of, and how you build it, is the sequencing problem. Most people skip the container building entirely and go straight to depth, which is the equivalent of pouring water into a glass that isn't there yet. The water isn't the problem. The glass isn't there. And the research on this is actually quite direct. The friendships that develop genuine closeness in adulthood almost always follow a pattern of graduated disclosure. Small moments of honesty, met and matched, building a felt sense of safety before anything deeper is offered. When that pattern is skipped, when depth is attempted before safety is established, the nervous system of the other person registers it as slightly out of sequence. Not wrong, just early. And it quietly recalibrates back to the level where things felt right. So if you've tried being more vulnerable with this person and felt the conversation pull back, that wasn't a rejection. That was information. The sequence wasn't ready yet. And that's fixable. Here are 5 moves that work with the sequence instead of against it. Each one is specific. Each one builds on the last. And none of them require you to perform depth or engineer a meaningful moment. They just require you to show up slightly differently than you have been. Move 1. Name what's actually real. Not a confession, not a revelation, just one thing that's true, offered at a slightly lower altitude than usual. Most stuck friendships stay stuck because both people are performing a version of fine. The first move is to drop the performance by 1 degree, not 10. Not, I've been struggling with something serious. Just, honestly, this week was harder than I expected. Or, I've been thinking about something and I can't quite land on it. That's it, one true thing. Offered without explanation or resolution. What you're doing is signaling that this conversation can hold something real. Most people, if they feel safe, will meet you there. Move 2. Let the other person be the one who goes first sometimes. One of the quietest reasons friendships plateau is a subtle asymmetry in who initiates depth. If you're always the one steering toward meaning, asking the more interesting question, offering the more honest answer, the friendship starts to feel slightly unequal. The other person can sense it, even if they can't name it. The second move is to create space rather than fill it. Ask something real, then stay quiet. Not, "How are you?" Something with a little more surface area. What's been taking up the most space in your head lately? Is there anything you're figuring out right now? Then wait. Don't rescue the silence. Don't redirect. Let them decide how deep to go. The depth that comes from that belongs to both of you. That's the difference. Move 3. Acknowledge what you noticed. This is the move most people don't know exists. At some point in a conversation, usually when the other person offers something slightly more honest than usual, there is a window. A few seconds where you can either pass over it or acknowledge it. Most people pass over it. They respond to the content but not the moment. They answer the thing that was said without naming what it meant to say it. The third move is to name the moment briefly. That sounds like it's been sitting with you for a while. I'm glad you said that. I wasn't expecting you to say that. I want to hear more. It's a small thing, but it signals something significant. I noticed you, not just what you said. You. That is the single fastest way to move a friendship past the surface. Not a vulnerable disclosure, but a moment of being genuinely witnessed. Let that sit for a second. Move 4. Revisit something from before. Most conversations exist in isolation. Each one starts fresh, covers the same territory, and closes without a thread to the next one. Depth is partly built from continuity, from the felt sense that this person is carrying you forward with them between conversations. The fourth move is to go back. You mentioned something last time that I kept thinking about. Whatever happened with that thing you were figuring out? I remembered what you said about that. How did it turn out? What that communicates isn't just interest. It communicates that the conversation mattered enough to stay with you afterward, that you held them somewhere in the background of your week. That is intimacy, not the dramatic kind. The quiet, continuous kind that most adults are starving for. Move 5. Say the thing you almost didn't say. This one is harder. And it's the one that actually changes the register of a friendship when the first 4 moves have already been made. There's almost always something in a conversation that's warming up, that you think but don't say. A reaction, an observation, a feeling. Something that is more honest than you usually are. You don't say it because it feels slightly too much. Not dramatically, just a few degrees past comfortable. The 5th move is to say it anyway. Once. Cleanly, without over-explaining it. I want to say something and I'm not sure how it'll land. I don't usually say things like this, but something in me wants to name this. You don't have to make it a moment, you just have to make it true. And what usually happens is that the other person relaxes. Because you went first. Because you modeled what it looks like to trust this friendship with something real, and then they go. That's the move. If what's in this video is useful, there's a resource in the description that goes significantly further. It's called Conversations That Actually Matter, and it gives you 27 conversation frameworks, specific opening moves, follow-up questions, and transition phrases that create real intimacy without feeling scripted or forced. Think of this video as the sequence. The guide in the description is the language. Link is there whenever you're ready. Before the closing, something worth saying directly. Not every stuck friendship is stuck for the same reason. Some friendships plateau because the sequence hasn't happened yet. Those are the ones these 5 moves are built for. But some friendships have hit a different kind of ceiling, not a developmental one, but a structural one. A structural ceiling means the other person is not available for depth, not because something is wrong with them, but because of where they are, what they're carrying, what they want from this particular relationship. Some people genuinely want a warm, surface-level friendship. It serves them. It's enough for them. And that is not a failure of either person. The question worth sitting with before investing more into any stuck friendship is, has this person ever moved toward depth with anyone? Do they have at least one relationship where they seem to be genuinely known? If the answer is yes, and the 5 moves haven't been tried in sequence, there's likely real potential here. If the answer is no, if this person consistently keeps everyone at the same level, the ceiling may be structural, and continuing to push against it won't produce depth. It will produce distance. That's not a verdict on the friendship, it's information. And you can make a different choice with information than you can make with confusion. Some friendships are worth deepening. Some are worth keeping exactly as they are, without grief about what they're not. And knowing the difference, that's not giving up, that's clarity. Not broken, just in the wrong conditions. And now you have a clearer sense of which conditions you're in. If you want to take what's here further, the guide in the description, Conversations That Actually Matter, gives you the exact language for each of these moves, plus 22 more. It's in the description and the pinned comment. Which of these 5 moves is the one you've been skipping? And what do you think has been making it hardest to try? Here's where this actually lands. The friendships that stay surface level for months aren't failing. They're waiting for someone to show up at a slightly different register. To name one true thing. To notice the moment that usually passes unacknowledged. To come back to a conversation that happened weeks ago and say, I was still thinking about that. None of these are grand gestures. None of them require a scheduled vulnerable conversation or a planned emotional disclosure. They're small shifts in how you show up, and they work because depth isn't built in a single moment. It's built in the accumulation of small moments where someone chose to be slightly more present than they had to be. If there's one thing to carry out of this video, just one, it's this. The next time you're in a conversation with the friendship you had in mind, while watching this, don't try to make it deeper. Don't engineer a moment. Just say one true thing, something that's actually real. Offer it without explanation. See what happens. That's the whole experiment. One true thing, and if it meets something, if the other person leans in even slightly, you'll know the sequence is ready. That's where it starts. Not with a plan. With a moment. And you're closer to that moment than you think.